Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Friday, October 22nd. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornital, back with you, but a new location here in Lexington, Kentucky. Hiding out. I'm far from the dodgy hotel Wi-Fi at the Hyatt. We've left that in the rear view. I'm in a little bit more sophisticated surrounding than Sean Borman's lair / the underground Hong Kong OTB. Sorry, Sean. I hope you're not offended by that. But great show we have on tap for you today. We've got a slew of guests. We're going to start things off because it's Maryland Million Day. And I'm going to have Naomi, Tukker, and Jack Jenkins here to go over that late pick five. Very much looking forward to that. We'll talk about Naira as well. Jill Gentili, who made her first appearance on the show a couple of weeks ago. She's back, and she's here to go over Belmont's Pick 6, which includes 2 graded stakes races. We've got John Cox from the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. He's here to talk about his favorite place in the world, Keeneland, and give a few thoughts on the Saturday card, as well as give us a little recitation. Always looking to do something a little bit different on these shows. We do our musical interludes from time to time. Today, we've got a poetry interlude. That'll be fun. And then last but not least, Drew Coatney is here, and he and I will give our thoughts and analysis on Woodbine's Saturday late pick 4 and an additional stakes race earlier on the card. It's going to be great stuff, and we're going to get to it all right after this. Today's show brought to you in part by In the Money Plus. Still a great time to sign up for In the Money Plus because you're going to get all of our Breeders' Cup coverage. We've got a lot of great stuff planned for you in terms of extra shows and extra written content. I'm confident in saying we're going to have the best European Raider analysis anywhere with Sean Borman and Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punchers in the UK today, contributing to that. Going to be a lot of great free content as well. But In the Money Plus is the place to go if you want it all, and you can do it for just $15. So I highly recommend that you check that out. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus. You can also sign up for our free newsletter easily enough. That's a good way to get the latest news. We'll send out special things when there's an important contest or important bet sequence, and it's a great way to keep track of all of our late week content, especially if you're interested in that. Go to InTheMoneyPodcast.com/email. You sign up there for free, or just bite the bullet. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus, and then you'll get all the good stuff we've got to offer. We look forward to seeing you there. Next up on the show, very proud to bring in 2 guests. We have quite a contrast in accents between these two, and perhaps in the way that they're dressed as well. For those listening, Naomi rocking her Princess Leia hairdo and looking fit to go out and dine on the town. Jack perhaps looking like somebody you might see on the sideline of a softball game. But that's okay. We like both here. The 2 people I'm talking about, of course, our regular contributor, who you know from the Maryland simulcast feed and the fantastic work she does with the MJC and Laurel and Pimlico. Naomi Tukker, how are things?
Very well, thanks, Pete. Yeah, big day ahead today, of course, with the Stronach 5 carryover, but then tomorrow, Maryland Millionaire, which is like the second biggest day on the circuit for us. So very, very excited. We did the draw on Wednesday for the Maryland Million Classic. We'll obviously dive into some of these races and some of the storylines as well, because there's a couple really interesting ones.
We'll get to that for sure. And also bring in, we haven't had him on in a while, but he has a great record of success coming on these shows, usually at a track a little bit closer to his home, Kentucky Downs. We've had him on in the past. Another one of my go-to guys to speak with about anything having to do with the big green egg and culinary type questions. Sadly, we don't have time to get into any of that today. I'm speaking, of course, of Jack Jenkins. Jack, what's up, my man?
Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Things are good. We're going to be talking about the last 5 races on this Maryland Million card, and it kicks off with race number 8. We've got the Maryland Million Nursery, the 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs on the dirt with $100,000 in the pot. Naomi, let's kick it off with you. How do you want to light this candle?
So there's a couple of interesting horses in here, but I must admit that the standout for me in the Maryland Million Nursery, 6 furlongs distance, is the number 10, Mr. Mox. Now, he is cutting back quite sharply to 6 furlongs, but if you look at his first 2 career starts, both over 5 furlong distance, he has blazing early speed and has absolutely no problems cutting back. Of course, he won by 10 lengths at Delaware last time with a very impressive 69 bar. They tried him on the turf in between, wasn't really his game, and they get the chance to catch up with the assistant trainer for Jamie Ness down here, Amanda Diamond, and she was saying that, he's been working really well. They're also very excited about this horse in the barn. And basically she was like, this horse can run. So I'm kind of keying around the number 10 in here.
I like it. Did you want to mention any potential backup numbers, Naomi, or are you going to be really looking to dial down?
I am looking to the 10, but I do like the number 1, Buff Hello, as well, for trainer Claudio Gonzalez. Also getting that much needed cutback. I think that when you're looking at sort of the distance race, he showed speed, couldn't really last. His better races do come over the sprinting distances. You have to use him. Of course, Claudio Gonzalez, one of our leading trainers here, and doing very, very well. Had a little bit of interest in Bet on Bids for trainer Anthony Ferrier. There was a lot of hype around him on his debut, and he duly delivered, winning by 8.5 lengths. Now that was made in 16 feet field, but you can only kind of beat what's in front of you. So possible for him to move 40s by Divining Rod. We know these Divining Rod youngsters have been absolutely tearing up the track here on this circuit. So definitely want to keep an eye on those. And I know Kenny Cox has Synergy started 12 in here as well. Victor of the Timonium Juvenile Stakes, over 6.5 furlong. He was saying beforehand, this is the best I've ever had him. He deserves his shot in there.
All right, keying around the 10 as a main pick with the 1, 13, and 12 mixed in. Jack Jenkins, how do you see it?
Yeah, I thought the 10 for Jamie Ness, Mr. Mox, was probably also the horse to beat on the cutback. Should set a decent trip there. Hopefully don't get caught too wide. This since they put in the new track, it's been a little inside. Saving ground in the turn seems to be a premium. I also like the number 5, who's coming off a pretty tough stake at Monmouth, locomotive. That horse should set a good trip and should be tactical, has a win on both turf and dirt. So there's some talent there. My key horse this race, I like a bomb drawn on the outside. Hopefully Carol Cedeno can work out a trip for Whitty. That horse is 30-1 on the morning line. Really ran a sneaky race in its debut to kind of get up for second, to split the speeds in that race. The winner of that race was, kind of a loose winner. So it really didn't get much of a setup. I think that horse could also improve at a big, big price.
I'm writing you down 11, 10, and 5. Does that sound about right? I mean, I'm guessing at the price. Yeah, Whitty would be. That makes perfect sense. Lots of different ideas and an open-looking kickoff to this pick 5 sequence. Let's move on to race number 9. We've got the Maryland Million Turf, 1 mile and an eighth on the green. Jack Jenkins, let's keep it with you.
Yeah, I thought the number 1, Cannon's Roar, was probably the class of the field here. 2-1, morning line, not a lot of value. The horse is coming off of a Laurel Dash at a much shorter distance, 5.5, going 9 furlongs today. That horse ran a close third at 22-1. But this horse, has faced a lot of really, really decent fields. The number 5 is also solid, Some Kind of Magic for Gary Contessa. That horse always seems to be in a mix. Strung together 3 straight wins this summer at Delaware and Pimlico. The value this race, though, is the number 4, Jong, I think is how you pronounce it.
John G.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that horse. It's had a really, really good summer and just been really consistent, running and always brings its race and, faced much, much better last time in the Japan Turf Classic. Run 4th in there. Very impressive. A winner for Mike Maker, Tide of the Sea. And I like this horse getting Maryland breds tomorrow.
4, 1, and 5 for Jack, it sounds like, in race number 9. Naomi, how do you see it?
Like this is, I have one horse that I really like in here, which is the first horse that Jack already mentioned, Cannon's Roar. Aside from that, there's a fair few that are actually kind of closely matched. So yeah, Cannon's Roar, to me, getting back out to mile and eighth, he's always been a little bit tougher going along. Those races haven't always gone here. So Dale was kind of sprinting him a couple of times, keep him rolling. But Dale Capuano also believes that he's better going along. So kind of agrees with me there. I remember speaking with him after the Sussex Stakes run when he ran second, beaten by nose by Try for Gold, being kind of frustrated because he thought that perhaps the jockey could have moved a little bit sooner and they could have won that race, or should have won that race, maybe better said. So yeah, Cannon's Roar to me is the class in this field. But then you start looking around and you see that, I'm going to say you want to look at some prices because they're all kind of evenly matched. Jack already mentioned John G. He's 10-1. Try for Gold is 8-1. I do have a little bit of interest as well in the number 7 Street Copper for trainer Michael Trombetta. Now, he has never gone, the mile and 8 yet here, but Trombetta on the turf, he's been doing very, very well here, and I think that he's going to get at least a good stalking position in here. So there's a couple of ways to go. So I also had John G, like I said. I also had some kind of magician underneath. So you nearly want to see, could you try and key around a horse like Cannon's Roar and then kind of start filling in maybe your exactas or your trifectas with these price horses that are all kind of closely bunched.
So I'm going to write it down for you, Naomi, is really looking to key around the 1 on the A line and then having a bunch of other ideas to mix in underneath, including the 4, 5, 6, and 7. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. If you want like if you're hard pressed for my picks, I actually ended up using the 1, the 5, and the 4. But look, I'm just looking at this again, and I can make a case for so many. But Cannons were definitely my standout here.
All right. We'll see what happens in the Maryland Million Turf. Definitely an interesting contest with a bunch of ways to go. We move on to race number 10. We've got the Maryland Million Sprint, a field of 8 will go forward in here. Naomi, who's your idea of the winner?
I guess you have to look towards Tom Amos with the number 7 Double Crown coming in here. Tom Amos doesn't run that many runners at Laurel Park. He only had 2 runners over the last 5 years here, including Little Stitches, who won the Beyond the Wire. So 1 at 2-1. And this is actually interesting because Double Crown was trained by Lacey Godet beforehand and actually won on debut here 2019 at Laurel Park over 6 furlong distance. So clearly, knew the old track. I guess he'll have to get used to the new track here, but I think he's kind of the one to beat in here. I don't believe you're going to get much of a price, but he comes from running against Tougher at Gulfstream Park as well as at Graded Stakes Company. Look, he was second in the Grade 3 Chick Lang as well at Pimlico in 2020. So this is kind of the class horse in here. I do look towards the horse on his outside though, the number 8 Band on Tour for trainer Gary Capuano. Comes off 2 very, very strong wins, very flexible, and it can go on anything, can go on fast, can go on money ground. Now we're expected to have fast ground. I don't think there's going to be much rain, but he's just been in very, very sharp form and has always kind of been quite consistent when he gets up there. So I do use the 8 underneath. And then I take some interest in the number 3 as well, For the Love of Bourbon, who had back-to-back wins at 2 starts and 3 starts ago, who seems quite interesting, making his first start here at Laurel.
7, 8, and 3 for Naomi. Jack, what are your numbers in race number 10?
Yeah, I agree. I think the 7 is the horse to beat here for Tom Amos and Fergal Lynch. Double Crown really had a really troubled trip last time at Gulfstream. Missed the break quite a bit, then got floated out in the turn. Just kind of not a good trip at all in that race. Kind of been facing a little bit better, and also like the number 3. Once again, it looks a little chalky this race, but coming from Parks, those Park shippers usually really run, especially the ones that show speed. This horse is probably the inside speed this race. Like I said, the track's been a little inside and a little bit speed favoring, nothing huge, but this horse should set a really good trip for the Love of Bourbon.
7 and 3.
Yeah, 7-3. And it obviously, you would want to look at the 2 AEs if they were to draw in.
Excellent. Which are the numbers on those AEs that you're interested in?
The 9 and the 10, Jackson Traveler for Steve Asmussen, and where she told me to go, the 10 strike.
If the race opens up, of course, you have to look at the AEs. They're terrific horses, but as it stands right now, they will only get in if a horse scratches in the body, and then it will get opened up because of the current rules that have to do with Maryland bred and Maryland sired in here on Maryland Million Day. I know we were discussing this beforehand, so I can give like a quick explanation.
Yeah, please do.
So it's a Maryland bred day, which means that the majority of the stakes races, unless they couldn't get 8 in the body, are closed for Maryland bred and Maryland sired runners. So that's the caveat there, because if you're looking at these AEs, they're Maryland breds, but they're not by Maryland sires. So unless the body doesn't fill, then they can come in. But if the body does fill, it does remain closed, which is also a big factor if you start looking at the feature race here, the Maryland Million Classic, who it doesn't seem to be opening up this year thus far.
Well, that's a good segue to race number 11, which is the next one that we need to talk about. The race that gives the name its day, one of the bigger races on the calendar down there in Maryland. 150 in the pot for this 3-and-up mile and an eighth dirt race. And Naomi, I'm going to throw it right back to you. Who's your selection?
I am hoping there's 2 3-year-olds in here, Ain't the Beer Cold and Dream Big Dreams. Now, Dream Big Dreams, the first ever runner for Brittany Russell in the Maryland Million Classic. Now, we know that she's, one of the talented trainers that really started coming through the ranks here on the Maryland circuit. And of course, Hello Beautiful is running in the Maryland Distaff as well earlier today. Quick segue there. If she does win the Maryland Million Distaff, she would have won 3 Maryland Million races. It's only becoming the 7th horse ever in history to win 3 Maryland Million races. The last one we saw do that was A Too Fast to Catch in 2014 when he won the Maryland Million Classic for the 3rd time. So, a little bit of history there, but she has this 3-year-old in here. And aside from the fact that he's getting quite some weight relief, 114 versus, for example, the current favorite, 120, the Tapping Cat, and then the Poser 118. So he gets a little bit of a weight break over the mile and 8 here. I think that's going to help, but also he's stretching out to the mile and 8 for the first time. But if you look back at that last race, that was open company allowance here at Laurel. He didn't start running until the final quarter of the race, really started doing his best work late, making me think that going further is going to bring out even more in him. Now, he ran against Elders last time, outbested him, ran against older horses before that. Look, it is a step up. That was open company allowance. And if you look at the likes of, Tap and Cat, he's been running, in some restricted stakes and some 2-3 other than levels. Those are tougher. So it is, a bit of banking on the progression of this 3-year-old, but I like him in here.
5 and 6 for Naomi. Which one would you make the top pick?
Not the 5, not the 5. I just mentioned him as being one of the 3-year-olds in here. No offense, Ain't the Bear Cold. You're not one of my picks. The number 6, Dream Big Dreams for me. And then I use the favorite underneath, Tapping Cat, who's on an absolute roll. Governor Day handicap victor, looking for a 4th win in a row here for trainer Gary Capuano. And then I use the Poser underneath because he's a big unit type of horse and he's going to really enjoy getting back to the Laurel surface. He did well at Timonium going long there. Hamilton Smith was saying he needed to get, a longer race into him. I think he's going to love the more spacious layout of this track.
6, 8, and 7, what Naomi's looking for in the big one on Saturday, the Maryland Million. Jack, where are you with this one?
Yeah, the number 8 Tapping Cat should be an odds-on favorite in here, coming off 3 straight wins. Horse has plenty of early speed, very tactical. Basically went wire to wire in his last 3 starts. He may have some pace company with the number 3 Torch of Truth, who's mainly ran a 6 furlong sprint in his last 3 starts. So that horse should be forwardly placed also. But number 8 Tapping Cat is probably a very likely winner here. I also thought the number 6 for Brittany Russell had a chance, come from well off of it last time. Hopefully gets another decent pace set up. And the number 4 was a touch interesting. Horse went 2.5 years, before it won on June the 26th, at 8-1, and then kind of got another break there and come back and won again, in another, relatively short field, but made up a ton of ground in both of those races at a route distance. And this barn is 31% on the year, so I think you gotta look at the number 4, Crutch. How do you say that, Naomi?
Crutchelli.
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 Yeah, right. I believe that's how I say it.
So, Jack, in terms of grading your thoughts, it would be more like the A as an 8, and the 6 and the 4
exactly.
as B's.
Right.
Okay. Good stuff there. We have just a couple of minutes left, so because we have that, zero obligation here. We didn't prep for it, but if either of you had any races earlier in the card that you wanted to give a spot play or any interest in, Naomi, I'll start with you. Did you have anything that you wanted to throw out from any of the earlier Maryland Million races? I mean, we're just doing the late pick 5 here, but there's a bunch more stakes as well. Starting with listed stakes, starting with race number 3, and there's even a couple of starter stakes along the way as well.
Yeah, so I already mentioned the storyline in the distaff. You do have Hello Beautiful Gate 2, and then Street Lude, who's I think won 8 stakes now on her inside. She's the 3-year-old. She Hello Beautiful is the 4-year-old. But that's kind of the storyline that you want to follow. Those two are very well respected and loved on the Maryland circuit here. So that will be a great race to watch. From a betting point of view, though, I like to make a little play in race number 3, the Maryland Lassie, so 2-year-old fillies going 6 furlong. I'm going to use the number 2 Luna Bell for trainer Hamilton Smith on top. She did very well 2 starts ago at Colonial, breaking her maiden, nice 70 buyer that day. And then kind of what on paper looks like a bit of a clunker of a race last time out in that allowance level. Now, what happened before the race is that she's quite a strong filly. So, Hamilton was telling me in the mornings, my exercise riders, they know her, so they keep a hold of her. And Horatio took her away from the pony before the race. She ran off with him. So they went all the way down the backside to the home turn before he was able to pull her up. Before the race, that was, the vets, of course, had a look at her and thought that she was doing fine, and they still let her run. Now, I think she possibly would have left a little bit of energy on the track there, maybe left the race on the track beforehand. And she still ran credibly. But I'm going to give her a chance here to redeem herself and continue building on that debut score. Score 2 starts back when she broke her maiden.
Sounds like a good idea of a cherry-picked spot folks that want to take a look at. Jack, how about you? Have you had a chance to look much at the undercard? Did you have a race or two?
I was also interested in race 3 there. The Lassie. I think Naomi makes a great point with the number 2. That's an excellent observation how she ran off. And that race that she ran in, she ran 3rd that day, beating 7.5. That race was won by Sparkle Sprinkle, who was, saved all the ground that day along the rail. I had the number, the number 2 there. I had her 4 wide that race, and also like the number 7, Sweet Gracie. I had her. She drew the number 8 post that day, ran 2nd. She was, beat 6 lengths. She won her debut, but she was out 5 and 6 wide, that race. I look for her to hopefully work out a little bit better trip tomorrow, and she could surprise, at a decent number there also.
Last but not least, maybe least given the quality of some of these stakes races, but not least in terms of hitting your late pick bets, we've got our 12th race on Saturday, 3 and up starter stakes with 50,000 in the pot for fillies and mares, going 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf. And Naomi, we'll ask you the key question first. How are we going to get paid?
So I actually like she's 4-1 on the morning line. She's unproven this distance. The number 1, Claire's Darling for trainer Dale Capuano. Loved her effort 2 starts ago. But what I think is very notable is that she's first off the claim for Dale. And the first thing he does is significantly stretch her out. Now, she's by imagining they can definitely get the distance. Dam side wasn't too certain, a bit more of a sprinting angle. But, Dale Capuano wouldn't put her up for 1 mile and 1/8 stretch out if he didn't think that was going to help her in this spot. So I'm kind of trusting him in there. He does have another run who have interest in the number 4, Jumpstart My Heart, who has been proven to close well over this distance. But she had a slight interest in number 3, Millie Child. She's also stretching out, and she's a 6-year-old mare, but she is huge. She's so big. She just keeps on cantering. Now, she has done some of her best running sprinting lately, but as you can see, she's not that fast early. I think she's going to keep on rolling over that 1 1/8 distance.
1, 4, and 3 was that, Naomi, to close it out for you? Jack Jenkins, same question. How are we going to get paid in this last race?
One other thing to add to the number 1, Claire's Darling, she did break through the gate before the start last time, so that probably was her excuse there.
She didn't get loose though. They held they held on to her, thankfully. Good gate crew here.
Yeah, she broke through the gate at 3-1, and then ran 9th. You have to think that had to affect her chances that race. But I love a horse this race. I'm going to try to get alive in the late pick 5 and the number 8, Dixie's Fascinator. She finally broke her maiden 3 back, and then she came back and she chased a really fast pace at 50-1 against Better. And then she come back on October 14th, just a few days ago. And, she was really sharp that day. So I'm hoping, I know they keep running. She's running a lot here, but I think she really wants the distance. She's an older mare, and there's a lot of these, they're looked a little bit more geared toward, the 5.5 or shorter distances. So I'm going to try to get alive to number 8. Hopefully she will be that 8-1 morning line.
You might be able to preserve some of that value in a bet like the pick 5, even if they come 4 in that spot. Good ideas there. Great stuff, Jack. Great stuff, Naomi. I kind of like this odd couple we have going on. We'll get you back on a show again soon to talk about some more racing, whether it's from Maryland or somewhere else around the country. But really appreciate your time today and wish you both Godspeed on this Maryland Million card. Our next guest on the show is back by popular demand. She did such a nice job the other week going over a Belmont Pick 6 with me. We decided to have her back. She is horse player Jill Gentili. Jill, how are things?
I'm well, Pete. How are you?
Life is good down here in Keeneland, but very much having an eye when they're running on what's going on in the races up there in New York, a circuit that I know you follow regularly. How do you allocate your horseplay these days? As a Kentucky resident, are you still pretty much divide 50-50 between New York and Kentucky play, or is New York more of the focus? What would you say?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's about 70-30 for me, New York. That's where my heart is. Belmont is my track. I love that place. People may argue with me. I don't care. I love Belmont. So when they're running, my focus is mainly there. Look, you can't knock Keeneland. You can't knock Churchill. They have really good cards every day. But like I said, my heart's in New York.
We love to hear that. And that's what we're going to be diving right into right now. We're going to talk about this pick 6 once again. New York weather looks okay. Last I looked, every time I make predictions about the weather, though, they end up being wrong. So I'm gonna save that. But I was an optimist in handicap for the turf, and it starts off on the turf in race number 5. We've got these 2-year-old New York bred maiden special weights going 1 1/16 on the turf. What did you do in this race?
Well, I mean, first off, I think there's money to be made at on this pick 6. It's pretty much wide open, especially with the New York bred 2-year-old races. So I started here. I like 2 horses coming out of the same race on September 23rd, excuse me. The number 6, Macetta, I think can improve off her race. That day, the horse that was on the lead went really, really slow. Macetta closed. It was only her first. She may have not been fit enough. Got a little tired at the end. And I would put her on top, the 6 Macetta. My second choice is the 12 Excursionist, who closed like crazy on that slow pace. And I think that's definitely another horse to look at, both coming out of the same race. I think my third choice here would be the Brad Cox Firster, the 5 Desert Tornado, whose last work looked pretty solid at Belmont. Brad has been a little cold at Belmont. Maybe this is when he starts getting hot. And I would definitely use that first-time starter in the first race here.
We are very similar. We must like that common race of Excursioniste and Macetta. I just put them in the other order. I put Excursioniste on top. Just thought ran very well with a bit of trouble in that turf debut. I liked the way Excursioniste came home in that spot. Just looked like a runner where there's room for further improvement. And Macetta going out for a hot barn that historically does a lot better with its second-time starters. On my B line, I mean, I respect the Cox first-time starter and will probably end up using as a B as well. But I also had some 9s. I have some 9s on tickets. Miracle Nikki going to get another chance from me after catching money and not breaking in what looked to be a pretty hot-looking maiden on Travers Day. That's how we see race number 5, and we'll boogie on down the line to race number 6, where we've got a starter allowance going 6 furlongs on the inner turf. I'll kick this one off. I like Determined Fury the best. This one's been knocking at the door at this level since the maiden win, and I just thought is facing an easier group than he did that day. Number 5, Ring of Fire, beat the top one last time. Usable on that basis alone. Makes all the sense in the world on figures and form. Plus, hunch play for Johnny Cash fans. We got to get that in there. I was also going to use the 8, Montatham. Should be suited by the turn back and distance, I thought, and just has numbers to be competitive. So I was going to probably look to just spread around with all 3 of the 1, 5, and 8 on the A line in race number 6. Jill, how did you see it?
I went 4 deep here. thought the race was a little tough on paper. My top pick is also the one, Determined Fury. Last 3 at this level have been solid efforts, and I think he'll run well here. Has Rosario, which is encouraging. Rosario's been red hot. And I think, the 5.5 is maybe a little too short for him. 6 furlongs is a sweet spot. I also like the number 7 Stanhope. Will probably be a price for Rudy. His last race out, I mean, his fractions were a killer. They were really, really fast. And I think his other 6 furlong effort put him right there. He could win. He could run on the lead and off the pace. So it's definitely my second choice. And then I also like the 2 and the 3 here. Mo Mischief, very, very expensive horse. When they bought him, they had high hopes for him. He's in a different barn. I don't love the trainer, but maybe in this level, he'll run well on the turf in his first out. And also the 3 Reaper Rocks, who also tries turf for the first time. He's run against a few monsters like Baby Yoda, so I'd put him on my ticket as well.
Interesting. In terms of grading into A's and B's with the 1, 7, 2, and 3, how would you do that? Like the 1 and the 7 on the A line, 2 and the 3 on the backup line, or were you thinking of using them more equally?
1 and 7 A line, 2, 3 backup line.
There you go. I intuited that correctly. I'll take it. I'll take it. Let's move on to race number 7. Back in the 2-year-old ranks, we've got these New York bred maidens going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Jill, we'll keep it with you.
I also think this is a really tough race. I'm not blown away by the horses that ran before. The one horse I could make a case for that has run before is Summer Snow. Showed speed and stopped first out. Also, caught that monster Classy Edition in her first race. I don't love her. The horse Leochi, who runs in the last, also ran in that race against Classy Edition, ran second and didn't come back and do anything in her next race. So I would not use her on top. I like 2 first-timers here. The 4 Sweet Lies, Shirley Candy out of Broken Vow. Mare could run a little, although it was on turf. I'd look at her as my top choice. And I also like Cupid's Heart for Bruce Levine. Levine has been really hot this meet at Belmont, and I like his firster here. Another horse I would look at is the 3 Glittering Prize. Moves to the Jimmy Bond barn. First race was at Colonial in the slot. Could improve here, but I'd put her on my B line.
4 and 5 as A's, 3 as a B. Am I getting that right?
Correct.
All right, let's get to this one. For me, I'm with you on Sweet Lies as the top pick. Above average debut sire. Dam, who's dropped 3 winners from 4 to make it to the races. That was enough for me in this spot. I had the 8 Summer Snow. I left in the mix just based on flashing that little bit of speed and catching a little bit of money on debut. And that was just a live looking race, more of a backup. I had drawn this up with Sweet Lies as the lone A, and I'll have to decide if I'm confident enough to do that in real life. But I did want Summer Snow as a B. And then Sweet Sugar Baby, who you mentioned, number 2. This one showed speed, routing on turf, now getting the cutback and the switch to dirt. Just another I thought had enough assets that I wanted to leave her in the mix. So we're fairly similar there in race number 7 as well. Couple of the same numbers anyway, and we'll see how that one turns out as we move on to race number 8, where we've got graded stakes action in the Noble Damsel, going a mile on the turf for these 3 and up filly and mares. I put the 6 Love and Thunder on top. This one's really come into hand for Chad Brown, and I thought could get a lovely setup. Extra credit for having a name that sounds like a Lost Kiss record. I'll have to throw that out there with Love and Thunder. High Opinion was one I needed on every ticket. Beat the top one 2 back. Unlucky to lose to the top one stablemate last time. Very obvious alternative in this spot. And then Tama here. Could be the best speed. Should the pace hold together. Has also shown the ability to pass horses before. I had 6 and 3 as A's and the 10 as a B in the Noble Damsel. What are your numbers, Joe?
My top pick is actually the other Chad. The 10 Tama Hare, who you also like, but he's my top here. I can't get on the right side of the chat. I say it all the time. When I bet him, I lose. When I don't bet him, I win. He wins. I can't get on the right side. But he's my top pick here. I'll go with the 10 Tamara. I think he'll go to the lead and play catch me if he can. I agree with you on that. My second choice would be the one in a hurry. Should sit right off the pace. May go for the lead with Tamara. You never know how the race will run. High Opinion will be closing. Dutro's red hot. I would use 3 High Opinion here. And for a long shot bomb, I definitely take a look at the Safi horse, Swiftly She. If I had a few extra bucks, I'd throw that horse in. Mile race at Kentucky Downs was not bad, and gets jockey back Gonzalez that had won 2 races with prior over at Gulfstream. So I definitely throw that horse in if I had a few extra bucks to spare.
I like that angle, honestly, when you find a rider who's had success with a particular horse before, whether it was running their best figure or coming up with a win. Is that one you've used to success at times?
Yes, definitely. I mean, sometimes horses just love a rider and they run better for that jockey and, maybe who knows what it is. Horses are very fickle creatures.
Yeah. And riders have different styles that just end up suiting, or they just get in tune with certain mounts. So
exactly.
It's something to, not a primary factor, but something when you're looking at a horse maybe as a longer price to include, I absolutely love. Let's talk about this race number 11 race number 9, more graded stakes action with the 3-year-olds on the turf in the grade 2 Hill Prince going 1 1/8. Jill, what did you come up with in here?
Well, I feel like I'm broke by now, so I have a single here. It's the 11 Soldier Rising. To me, this horse just looks better than the rest of the field. I know it's been the bridesmaid a couple of times, and people would argue that he doesn't want to win. But Yabir is a monster. That horse looks like the real deal. So I'm definitely would single the 11 Soldier Rising. If I had to go a little bit deeper here, I would also use the 8 and the 10.
8 and 10, getting one of the Chad Brown runners in there. You mentioned your sort of trickiness getting on side with Chad Brown. This is a race where it's real tricky because he's got 3. And, stop me if you've heard this one. Chad Brown runs 1-2 in a graded stake on the turf.
Yeah.
I'm interested I have a few questions for you. First of all, Public Sector, I ended up making my top pick. I just thought looked too good to ignore and should get a setup. You're trying to beat. Do you have something against Public Sector, or is this more of just a value play on a horse that you think is going to get hammered at the windows?
I think this is definitely a value play. Like I mentioned earlier, can't get on the right side of Chad Brown. The 10 Never Surprised, who ran against Public Sector last out. He's second off the layoff. I love that angle. I always play second off the layoff. The horses usually come back a little more fit. They run a little bit better. It's Todd Pletcher. I think the 10 would definitely be a value play here. And, Shifting Sands, also a Chad Brown runner, always runs well, always in the money. So, those 2 I definitely put underneath, but love my single here.
No, I like where you're going with that, just from the point of view of using some condition handicapping to come up with a reason why Never Surprised might be able to turn the tables on Public Sector. I got wowed by the numbers and just the fact that I think he might be sitting on another race. I did put the 8 Shifting Sands second. Looks to have gotten very good. Been working with Public Sector. Then the other Chad Brown runner who I didn't end up using in my picks, but I might find a way in sneaking in a backup line. I'm seeing the morning lines for the first time here, 10-1 on the morning line for Founder with a decent ability to close. That's not a crazy one to try to work in somewhere on the Chad Brown, flotilla. But I wanted to ask about Soldier Rising. I did include in my picks based on the form and figures since arriving on these shores. I think today's shorter distance is going to be within Soldier Rising's grasp, but I wasn't quite sure. Is there something in particular that makes you think that Soldier Rising might be suited to this 1 1/8 configuration?
Looking at Soldier Rising's last race, I didn't think it was that bad. The horse, tried to close on the inside. He just faced a really, really tough horse that day. You could make the case for slick back, I guess, if you're using that angle. But I don't think that slick back is good enough. I think that Soldier Rising will come back in this race and run to his potential. Clement had high hopes for this horse, bringing him over from Europe.
No doubt about it. And definitely on form and figures fits. I'll have all over my tickets. That was just my only concern, if it might be a little too sharp. But you make a good point. The last time wasn't much farther than this, and ran a big one into Yabir, who did put up a seemingly monster effort. Not seemingly monster. It was a monster effort in that spot. Let's talk about our nightcap. It's race number 10. You alluded to this race a little bit earlier on. We've got 2-year-old New York bred maidens going 6 furlongs on the dirt with $75K in the pot. How are we going to get paid, Jill?
Oh gosh, Pete, let's get paid, because I think this is going to pay mega bucks.
I like the sound of that.
Trinity Titoli is my top pick. She seems to be improving with each start, and I don't really see any superstars in this bunch. I think she could win it here. Can't Hurry Love, the 9, going back to dirt. She may have, landed a soft enough field here where she can win. I don't think she's that good, but with this field, she may be able to win here. And then Silver Fist gets Jose today. Her work on October 15th says she's ready to go, and she would be my third choice, the 4 Silver Fist.
5, 9, and 4. We have a little bit of commonality, but perhaps not surprisingly, some different ideas in what could be an open race. I guess I was uncreative. I did put Can't Hurry Love right on top. Ran well last time, setting unsustainably fast internal fractions, just going down late on turf. Should get a good trip switching back to dirt, and I think should find it, enough to her liking to potentially get the job done. The one that you mentioned earlier that you were not too thrilled with the last run was the 8 Lauchi, and it may be that she's just one of these habitually bad breakers, but based on the running she's done after those bad breaks, I think she's capable of winning at this level should she ever get away from there cleanly. I didn't want to get beat by her. I'm going to leave her in. It's that kind of race. And then I thought that the 2 Sunset Louise was worth including, just based on the damn side of the pedigree. All 5 of her siblings to make it to the races have won. I was going to try to get out 9, 8, and 2 in this pick 6 at Saratoga on Saturday. Where will you be watching from? You going to be out at Keeneland or watching from home? You have a war room there. What do you do?
I think I will be watching from Keeneland on Saturday. It's the last big weekend of the meet, so I'll definitely try to get out there. Hopefully get some good weather on Saturday. I know it's supposed to rain on Sunday, and just kind of enjoy the races, enjoy Keeneland. Keeneland's a great place, and for those who haven't been there that are watching, gotta go. Definitely gotta go. It's great stuff. And yeah, we get wherever we are, we get our Belmont simulcast TV set up, and we fire it in from all over the country. That's how we do out there. Exactly. But I will definitely be playing this pick 6, and fingers crossed, one of us will hit.
I love it. We'll give an update next week. We'll have you back on soon. Really appreciate your time today, and hopefully I'll see you over there.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Have a good day.
Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Keeneland and Keeneland Select. Got to shout them out one more time. Keeneland.com. That's the place to go to get your tickets. You do want to pre-purchase your fall meet tickets if you're still planning on getting out here. And if you're not and you have the chance to, well, what's wrong with you? It's just an absolutely beautiful place. I've been loving being there for this last week or so and already planning my next trip. Also want to let you know about the Keeneland Select bonus that we have going on. ITM21. That's the code for new customers to get a little bit of free money. So if you have a chance to get a Keeneland Select account, or you know someone who does, encourage them to do it while this promo is still ongoing. KeenelandSelect.com. And don't forget that promo code, ITM21. Next up in the show, very excited to bring in the Director of Public Affairs of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. He's also a horse player and kind of a track rat. I'm just going to say it. He's John Cox. John, how are things?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me on PTF. And yeah, I definitely would consider myself railbird, track rat, whatever you want. Yeah.
You wear the mantle proudly, as one does around here.
Yes.
Several things I want to talk to you about today. We're going to be having a whole show later. I'll remind folks about this. Our friends at TaylorMade sponsoring the show. We're doing live from Lexington tonight. We'll be live streaming it approximately 6:45. You can find the archive of it as well, where it's going to be Scott Hazelton and Philip Shelton, myself, maybe a JK cameo via video. We're going to be going over the last 6 races on the card at Keeneland. In a minute here, John, I want to get some spot plays from you as well, because I know you pay attention to this stuff. But before we get to that, we introduced you as the Director of Public Affairs. You just recently got promoted. Tell us a little bit about this new gig and what's involved in it.
Well, yeah, so I advocate on behalf of the business community in Kentucky, which also includes our signature horse racing and bourbon industries, which is nice. Definitely a part of my role that I oversee those two, and some infrastructure, healthcare stuff as well. But I'm a lobbyist and work in Frankfurt, try to just advocate. We're the largest business organization in the state, so just trying to pass pro-business policies and like I said, protect our signature industries here in the state. Big win for us. Obviously, this year was passage of the historical horse racing, just kind of clarifying that so that it can go on as it has been, the status quo. But Supreme Court ruling kind of made that tricky. So got that protected, and we're rolling in Kentucky right now.
I love to hear it, and I'll just offer you production meeting in the middle of the show style. If you need a little bit of a mouthpiece to get out to horse players at any time, you've got an open invitation to come back.
Definitely appreciate that.
We're going to do something else really fun at the end of your segment here, which is among your titles, among the things that you are, is a poet. And we're gonna have you reading some poetry, something I've wanted to do since the beginning of the In the Money Players podcast, and I don't think we've ever gotten it done. We're gonna get that done today as well. But the order we'll do things in. Next, I'm going to ask you about the stuff behind you, because it looks to me like you might have an interesting little horse racing memorabilia or a bourbon set up there, and any excuse to talk about those things. What are we looking at back there?
Got a couple Keeneland Special Makers Mark bottle, Kentucky Derby Woodford bottle. We got some old bobbleheads from Saratoga. I think we got Jerry Bailey and Edgar Prado. Me and Coach Stoops there, football coach. Kentucky's having quite a good year. Just a couple other bourbon, horse racing piece of memorabilia. So very Kentucky, very proud. I wear it proudly for sure. So
Coach Stoops, a legend among gamblers at this point after the decision to punch that ball in, thus covering the spread. I'm sure that was just a coincidence at the end of the game on Saturday.
I mean, he wanted to score, you put together an 11.5-minute drive, which, maybe you should have gone for it a little earlier than that. But, you don't want to walk away empty-handed, and best defense in the country,
There were a lot of happy boosters. There were a lot. They were maybe sad about the scoreline, but they were happy about those late points.
We covered. That's right.
I was tickled. That's for sure. Let's talk about Keeneland on Saturday. Again, we're going to be going over the last 6 races on the show tonight. But I'll just open the floor to you, essentially, John, in terms of any races that you like, where you think you might be focusing your money. Do any spots on this card stand out to you, and what are they?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of highlight, some of mine for the late pick 4, probably the biggest races of the day. Go ahead and start with this race 7, the Perryville Stakes, 3-year-olds, 7 furlongs on dirt. I think it's pretty wide open, but I think the one to beat is Picking Time, respectable second in the Gallant Bob. No, he's beaten 6 3/4 lengths, but obviously, Jackie's Warrior seems to be the real deal in the 3-year-old sprint division. So I expect Picking Time to pick back up and run big in that one. The next race, I would probably say race 8, it's an allowance, mile 16th on the turf. Take a chance on the 7 here, looking for a price in Argentello for Connor Murphy. 9th, just a couple weeks back in the Keeneland Turf Mile, but only beaten 5 lengths. So, sometimes I like to bet the horses that are brought back on just a couple weeks rest, trusting the trainer's judgment there, looking for a price, like I said. And then the Raven Run, grade 2, 3-year-old fillies, 7 furlongs on the dirt. I think Obligatory is the one to beat there. Pretty game in the grade 1 Cotillion at 2 turns, and lost her footing at the start of the prior rest. So I think we can draw a line through that one. And she's had a pretty impressive year. Beat Super Sensational in the 8 Bells earlier this year. And I think it's a veteran move by Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott not to chase this staff, even though he ran second in one of the biggest preps, for that race in the Cotillion. But, just to say, hey, let's shorten her up. She's more comfortable with this distance probably, and maybe have some confidence going into next year that she can compete with, some of the best filly mare sprinters in the country next year as a 4-year-old. And then I'll finish it out. Race 10, I got to go with my man Bo Bromagen and Ashbrook Farms. Ginsburn for Rusty Arnold, 3rd in the grade 1. Bruce D at Arlington, classy, likes the distance. go baby go. So that's pretty much my late pick 4 with the stakes in there. So yeah.
Easy to root for at Beau Brummagem, that's for sure. So just to recap, race 7, you had the 5, race 8, the 7, race 9, the 13, race 10, the 5. I might have liked Obligatory in a race like, I agree, I don't think stretching out would have been the move. I would have liked her a little bit in the filly and mare sprint. So I think I've got to like her here. I was a little bit concerned about the post draw, but I'm hoping with at 7 furlongs with the backstretch to get into position. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Does that give you any cause for concern though? The 13
no, definitely.
post?
I mean, you're not crazy about it, but I'm just, kind of looking on paper. I think she's still, the one to beat, but yeah, I think Super Sensational will be game too. And Scylla, maybe. I was kind of surprised Scylla was, 8-1 on the morning line after beating Super Sensational last time out, but I think, kind of chalky, but those 3, I think all should be up there for sure.
We'll see how they end up betting. Maybe I'll even put those other 2 in as your picks underneath Obligatory. What are the numbers on the other 2 you're interested in race 9?
See, 3 Super Sensational and 7 Scylla.
All right, there we go. Logicals for sure. Hopefully, sometimes with those post situations, we've seen this a million times, the horses end up being much bigger prices than they were sort of, meant to be. The crowd can overreact to things like that. And if we can get all of 3-1, 7-2 on Obligatory, I'll just, I think that redounds to our benefit. That's the hope anyway.
I'm with it. Yeah, I love it.
All right, now's what I'm really excited about having you on for. I got a chance to read this poem and I loved it. And it's actually, I love the way you laid it out visually on the page, but I think it's going to work very well for the ear as well. So what's the title of the poem?
The title of this one is Fall for the Bluegrass. And I got to preface it by saying that, I had a little success earlier this year. I had a hell of a trip to Saratoga and just wild time altogether. I won't go into the details, but the last day, we had been, staying out late, going to the track every day. The last day I'd stayed at a different Airbnb than I'd stayed at the whole time. And, sweaty, getting back from the track, a little hungover. I'm in a different world at this point. And I scratch out this poem in this guest book. It's like a brown paper, old school looking thing on an old school desk. And that poem ends up being published in the New York Times. I put it on my Instagram story and Tom Law from the Saratoga Special saw it. I was like, type that up and send it to me. So I sent it to him and I'm like, well, I know a few other people that might like this, and sent it to Joe Drape at the Times, and he ended up publishing it. So
phenomenal.
It was pretty cool. And so I love Saratoga, and I figured if I did one about that, I should follow up with one about my hometown and my home track. So yeah, here's Fall for the Bluegrass. You want me to go right into it?
I'll intro you because I did want to just chime in that we'll have to for our Saratoga lifestyle show next year. I think that's going to become a regular thing. And I realize we also probably in the spring need to do a Lexington lifestyle show. We might have to do 2. We might have to do a spring and a fall because the activities do they do change a little bit. But I'm glad you reminded me of that. And I did get a chance to read that in the Times, and it was great. And that's the perfect it's the perfect segue. Here is John Cox with Fall for the Bluegrass.
All right. Summer heat, please leave. Give me jeans and long sleeves. Sunshine, 55. Cool my soul, pure vibes. Leaves fall, autumn sky, happiness inside. Football on all the time. Fantasy, new life. Kentucky, where I reside. Fresh season for the blue and white. Tailgate till the moonlight. 60K, fans inside. All scream, fight, need a dub, going out tonight. Old fashioned, rocks glass, raise a toast to the cats. Take it down, I'll do one more. Last call at bells. Wait, where's the door? October, when it really peaks. Keeneland, fall meet. Green grass, sycamore trees, stand in line for the horsies. Suits and ties, Benzes, polarized lenses. Swagged out, drip, drip. College kids looking for a tip. Thirsty girls, pose for pics. For the gram, how many likes you get? Champagne, when it hits your lips. Tastes sweeter when you're cashing in. Cash it in. Big bets. I smell stogies and cigarettes. Old and young, rich and poor, lay it down on the big horse, on the one that you know, gonna finish first for the photo. Winner circle with the team, popping bottles. That's the dream. If it comes in like I want it to, gonna blow it all on some seafood, on some lobster tail, on filet mignon, fine wines, bourbon, Pappy, 23, no rocks, just neat. Rubies or Tonys after pigskin, after ponies. By now, you should know me. Lextown, the one and only.
Oh, great stuff. John Cox got rhymes, people. That was awesome. Really, really appreciate it. Captures so much of the fun that I've been able to have down here these last 10 days or so. And just got to thank you so much for sharing that with us and for taking time out of your busy day and coming here and giving us some picks and talking.
Appreciate the opportunity, Pete. And yeah, hopefully this won't be the last time. I need to get back on here again soon. So.
Definitely. You got an invitation, and I know you're a writer as well. So if you have anything, for Breeders' Cup or whatever, just keep us in mind. It's an honor to have you on the team and to do something different on these airways today.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Good luck out there.
Will I see you over there today?
Oh yeah, I'll be out there.
Okay, excellent. Holler, and we'll.
Paddock for Southerner in the 4th race.
There you go. That's right. We got Southerner in today for black type thoroughbreds. We've got 10 Strike Racing. I'm not sure if their runner today runs under Raquel Ritchie or 10 Strike, but I think it's a partnership horse for them. They got a win yesterday. So we got friends involved. I'll see you at that bourbon bar if I don't see you in the paddock.
All right. Sounds good, Pete. Thank you.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
So I've read a lot of ads for the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation over the years, but this one is special because this is the week that I finally got to go see their work really up close and in person at the Blackburn Correctional Institution. I'll have to talk longer about this in an upcoming segment with Kim Weir, but I just want to say it was an amazing experience to see those horses, that herd of 50 they have out there. And really the high point of the day was meeting the men and hearing them talk about the way that these horses have changed their lives and really directionally made all the difference in the world. This is a program have been supporting. We've all been supporting. We need to support it even more because that's how important it is. It only gets to exist because of dollars donated. Best way to do that, trfinc.org/players. We've even still got a few promotional items left. We've got bottles of the ITM whiskey. If you make a donation of a certain amount, you get one of those as a gift. It's really good, and it's perfect for fall. Check it out. That's probably, now that Horse Player Happy Hour is in the books, that's probably the most fun thing you can do to support the TRF. Get a bottle of the ITM whiskey. And to channel my inner Nigel Tufnell, it makes a great gift too. trfinc.org/players. That's the place to go. And we will be talking with Kim about my visit the other day there very, very soon. trfinc.org/players. Next up in the show, very happy to be joined by our usual Woodbine correspondent to talk about a pretty interesting Saturday of racing up there north of the border. Hoping they had some weather this week, but it looks like it's clear the next few days. Hopefully we're going to be on the turf and A-OK as far as that goes. And to chat about it now, here's Drew Coatney from InTheMoneyPodcast.com. How are things, my friend?
I'm good. I'm up here down here in Ohio with the in-laws. So just hanging out on the farm. I was just asking when this house was built, and it in the late 1800s. I've yet to actually find, they have a map somewhere of how old this building was. So they rehabbed it, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 decades ago, and have been living here since. So it's full of cars, American Budweiser, and V8 Mopar engines. So it's a good time up here.
When you said farm, I was hoping you were going to say horses. I've gotten to see a lot of beautiful stuff here in Kentucky going out. We got a couple fun events tonight. We're going to be doing this live stream. I'm sure all I've talked about on the show by this point. This is the first thing we're actually recording on this Friday morning, but it'll air later. So I'm sure I will have talked about the TaylorMade event tonight that we're going to be going over the Keeneland card, but I'm also going to end up at the Mill Ridge barn party tonight. Had the great pleasure of touring there the other day, and very excited to be headed back tonight. Should be a lot of fun, but no horses in sight where you are, it doesn't sound like.
No, and we haven't really caught up for the listeners. We typically talk a couple times a week. You've been a man on a mission here, running all over the place. So I'm excited to hear about Keeneland and your trip there, what you've been eating and what you've been drinking. I saw your makeshift studio out there. It looked a little paddock sidey as you were doing a recording posted up on YouTube. So what a better
Horse Player
backdrop.
Happy Hour final table. That was unbelievable. I mean, how great was that? How great that the players, as I said to Matt Bernier at the end of the show, how much do we talk about voting with your dollar? Well, in the Horse Player Happy Hour, in that final $189 game where we were oversubscribed for our originally planned 130 runner game, the results of the election from people voting with their dollar are in, and In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup and the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, that ticket won with a tremendous landslide. So we thank everybody out there for participating in that. It was great to be at Keeneland. It was great to be in the underground OTB, the underground Hong Kong OTB, also known as Borman's Lair. We've had a lot of great locations here, a lot of great friends in Lexington. I feel very at home here, and super excited to get back. And of course, encourage everybody to look at the calendar next year and look to make trips to Keeneland, whether it's spring or fall, and or the Breeders' Cup. That's going to be so exciting having it back here. I mean, obviously, last year it was wonderful being able to be one of the few people who were at the Breeders' Cup, and it was a terrific industry event, but that's not what the Breeders' Cup is about. It'll be great to have racing fans back with us next year. But let's turn our attention to north of the border, my friend, and we're going to start off actually unscheduled. There is a graded stake race on the undercard, and it's not a big field, but it's a competitive little race. Very curious to get your thoughts on who might win this Grade 3 Hendry Stakes.
Yeah, I'm on the number 4 Tofin, and I think it's because you're going to get some good value. People are going to gravitate to the CUA Stakes on August 21st and say, what a clunker of a race that this horse ran. But the workout tab suggests that Tofin does like the all-weather. And so I think we're going to find some value because folks are going to say, this horse doesn't really like the all-weather. And the other thing that's working well for this horse, there is no pace in this race, and this horse will get loose, most likely. 4-year-old on the upside. Gallardo gets the jockey upgrade. No offense to Stein, but Gallardo getting back up. Actually, Gallardo's never ridden this horse. So a fresh face, but I still like it, though, nonetheless. I don't see any pace. I like that horse. The other one is Our Secret Agent, 8-5, very logical. You could say kind of in and out type as well, but I mean, running against some really strong horses, probably a mile and an eighth last out was not as far as this one wants to go. Again, Cassie, 4-year-old upside Kimura, all of the logical signs point to this one being in the mix as well.
I'm interested in Amalfi Coast in here, and maybe I'm just being an Amalfi Coast fanboy. This is a mare who's won for us on a number of occasions on the show. I was wondering with the slower pace if she might just be invited into the race a little bit and be able to use that late kick to potentially get the job done. I feel like this is her ball game, and the 6.5 should be well within her scope. So, I mean, I think those are the three principles. You can make cases for each of them. I'm going to write you down 4-2, and I'm going to put myself down for the 6, if that all sounds right with you.
That works.
All right, let's move on to the originally scheduled programming, which kicks off in race number 7. More stakes action. We've got the 2-year-olds here in the Princess Elizabeth Stakes going a mile and a 16th on the synthetic. Since you kicked off the first stake, I'm going to kick this one off because why not? I like the number 8 Bakshish in this spot. This is a synthetic stakes winner, and on her pedigree should be suited by today's added ground. I don't really have a big problem with the fact that she found the Grade 1 Natalma on turf too tough, but I'm not going to hold that against her. Adding Lasix adds to the appeal to some degree as well. I also like the 4 Lois Len a little bit for all you Superman fans out there. As with the top pick, I'm envisioning a good trip from this one, not too far back. Best race was on synth, and on pedigree, I felt like more ground should be okay. 8-4 for me in race number 7. How do you see it, my friend?
Oh, this is such a hard race. I'm on the 8 for more or less the same reasons you had cited. And I don't know if Cassie could have, any more runners in this race. I think it was trending up very nicely until facing the Grade 1 Natalma. And I think it's going to get back on track going over to the all-weather and continue to see that upward trend from going from a 49 to a 59 to a 66 buyer. gets derailed in that Natal mistakes and will come back a little bit better as well. So I'm cold singled on the 8. I could see you using any of the other Cassie runners. Or I think number 1, Broken Proposal, could have a little bit of an interesting flair to her coming from the turf back over onto the synthetic. The one thing, though, to note, even though this horse did run into some issues, that is a 1-turn configuration. So this horse will be going 2 turns for the first time, but you'll be getting paid well at 12-1 installed on the morning line. So Bollinger gets the call for Stuart Simon, and I think could have some upside in a group that looks a little fuzzy on form.
So you just want me to list the 8 for you, though? No listed backups?
I might have talked myself into the 1. We'll go 8-1. 8-1 1 is a backup.
I'll put the 1 as a B for you there. I like it. Let's move on. Race number 8. A contest where since I went last, I usually take this race, but I'm gonna send it back to you. We've got these 3-and-up filly and mare $20,000 claimers going 6.5 on the turf. How are we gonna get through this leg?
Yeah, I'm telling myself a story with the number 1 Bayou Bell, and Drexler gets the claim on this one and needs to show earlier speed. And the story I'm telling myself is, well, that strong workout October 10th indicates that he understands that as well. They're going to try and send this horse and get out of the gate. I think has some strong figures overall in this bunch. But when you go from there, I think I could use Make No Mistake, the number 3. Could just get loose and not really look back if no one pressures this one early. But again, I think Bayou Bell might be there. And then if there was enough pace in this race, if you can envision it, I think the number 4 Grateful Praise has a chance as well. Tried racing over that good going while being stuck in the far post and then trapped on the rail the whole way. I mean, my goodness, talk about a replay angle here. Could not get down for the drive until the 8th pole, where the rest of the runners were having clear sailing, I don't know, halfway through the turn. So this horse had a dozen jumps of not being able to actually run. So getting clear stalking trip today could really materialize into a great placing for this horse if there is a little bit of a pace. So I'm on the 1-3 with a backup of the 4 in this 20,000 claiming event.
Okay, we're very, very similar. Our top line is the same. I just flipped the order on those. I'm just taking a little note of your B here. Folks who subscribe to Plus get little digests of all the picks. One of the fun features in that to learn more about that and our Breeders' Cup coverage in themoneypodcast.com/plus. But I put Make No Mistake on top. Last time, I thought you just moved a little bit early into that fast pace, still beating only a length, wheeling back in 9 days back to the surface and distance of the last win. And I wasn't sure about Bayou Bell being able to show more speed. I thought that was an interesting point you made. I just thought it was interesting off the Drexler claim, turning back. And I thought there might be enough speed to set up the late run for this one. I had it 3-1. We're very, very similar in race number 8, which moves us along to race number 9. 3-and-up maidens. We're going 7 on the synthetic, 48,000 in the pot. This time around, I put the 4 Bellentime on top. This is the kind of race where you look for different reasons why a seemingly exposed horse might run better. And Bellentime has a number of those ideas for me. Dropping in class, turning back in distance, first-time gelding. Those are things that are going to leap out to me with a runner like number 4 Bellentime as to why he might be able to outrun his odds in a spot exactly like this one. I also did want to use number 5 In All Alone, lower end of the odds spectrum, but just kind of obvious. This is a runner who got caught chasing what came back as red-coded time form fractions. We really did no running. I get it, but that was off a very long layoff. And now back in 34 days against this group, I think should get a good forward trip. And just like we talked about with Bellentime, I think from a condition point of view, has reasons to run better. In All Alone has back numbers to really do very well in here. I like it 4-5. What are your numbers in race number 9?
Yeah, we're completely different. I think this is ripe for a pace collapse, and I love the number 1 Sun Forester at 8-1 on the morning line. And I think Last Out just ran into way too much trouble, and also hindering that horse was the time form. And I can't make heads or tails of this, right? The time form indicates early red fractions, yet Hullabaloo at 18-1 was able to hang on to that pace as well. And I think it was similar to what we were describing earlier, horses who are in the clear, who are maybe more long shots versus the competitive horses who should be running faster are being hindered by maybe some drop back types. So maybe race complexion and traffic were the issues there, but that pace really didn't collapse in terms of back runners making advancements through the field. So two back going that route race in the neutral pace shows this horse can be able to close if it gets clear. So I think today that pace sets up perfectly, should sit the rail and kick clear late. I think the value line here I've put at 4-1. I really like this bet in the win pools here because I think we're going to get a square price in what seems to be a pretty open field. The other horse I'm going to use as an A is the number 3 Kodiak Mamba. I think is the morning line favorite at 5-2. I think has improved buyer wise since coming over to Woodbine. And it's hard to argue with the trainer who fires at 23% on the all weather, and the jockey change over to Kimura may just shake things up and get this one in the winner's circle. So I'm pretty skinny here. The 1 and the 3, I get leery going anywhere else because I think there's some knocks on the other horses, especially at the lower odds spectrum.
Let's move on to race number 10. We're in the maiden ranks once again. Fillies and mares this time, 3 and up, going 6 on the synth. Drew, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, another tough race. And I think it's important too, when you're building tickets and talking about races, right? I could put 7 runners out here, 8 runners in all of the other 3 legs. And I think this is another case of that where you got to kind of stick to your guns and you're going to get paid if you're right. And the number 3 Veery at 6-1 seems like the best value in this race. And this Tiller runner did things pretty well on debut, pulling herself into the race around the turn, but coming up short in the final 8th. So maybe the horse needed this second start. Tiller is 13%, so it's not great on the second starts. So I'm looking forward to this one making that step forward, though, because Veery does have some great workouts. So maybe that 13% is a little understated for Robert Tiller, the connection going second off. So I'm in the number 3. The other horse I'm going to be using is the number 9 Ashbury at 3-1. Runner was very wide on debut and had excuses closing into that slow pace. Next out earns a good figure, running over that good outer turf today, switches back to the all-weather for a trainer who strikes at 17% with that moves, going from turf to the all-weather. So the jockey change is also a positive sign for me. The 9 hole is a little concerning, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to be fading a horse I wanted to call out too, who may catch some money, is number 6 Green Gables. I think this horse has had every reason to win and just continues to come up short over and over again. So I will not be using anywhere number 6 Green Gables. I happen to do that frequently. It's the number 6 Green Gables at 5-1.
You got it right. You got it right the first time. I was following along. So 3-9 for you to close it out. I was with you on the 3, but I was going to spread like crazy in this race. There's a lot of unexposed second-time starters who had things that I liked, where in some instances catching money on debut or going out for barns that typically improve or did a little bit of running. And my whole spread is just, and I don't usually do this, so I don't mind doing it here. I'm just going to read you a bunch of numbers, basically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. I was with you in trying to oppose Green Gables at the top of the market, and I wasn't as taken by Ashbury as you. I mean, I get your case, but I was just thinking on the surface, which might be a bit over bet for a post that could potentially prove tricky. We'll see. I just didn't trust the favorites. I thought that there was a bunch of unexposed second-time starters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 for me to close things out at Woodbine. Anything else for you, my friend? We do not have a Woodbine Sunday show this week. A little bit of a break from the stakes action. We'll be back hopefully with another one of those soon. I'm going to be running around next weekend, but that's no problem. We'll have yet another new location probably, and hopefully we can get that out there. But anything else you've been paying attention to that you wanted to note?
Yeah, I think it's the calm before the storm for the Breeders' Cup. I'm really excited to not only just watch the races, but watch the betting challenge, see strategies evolve, all of that fun stuff. So excited for our coverage out there of that. And then also the Lions, I think, are going to lose again this weekend. I think being installed as the 15-point dog going back out to LA. So we'll see if Goff keeps his seat. Me being myself being a big Lions fan, it's a little deflating, but hey, it's Jets fans and Lions fans can commiserate in company together.
plenty of bonding that can be done. Now, I've already used the Rams in the survivor pool that I'm in, so I need to come up with something else. So I haven't done any handicapping yet, but I'm glad that came up. That's been my only football rooting interest is this survivor pool that I'm doing. Hopefully, I could keep the streak going a few more weeks.
Yeah,
Drew,
what's your strong lean? Do you have a lean yet before you cut me loose?
I haven't picked it up. I haven't even looked at I don't even know who's playing. Like, I don't really, I try to apply a minimal amount of game theory, but I'm basically just survive in advance. If you went back and looked, I've probably taken the team that I haven't taken yet with the biggest point spread every single week. And honestly, there hasn't even been an anxious moment, really. It's been kind of a cruise control, but obviously it's gonna get tricky soon, especially when we get down to having to make more than one pick in a week. That pivot happens at some point. Hopefully I'll still be around with both of my entries. But yeah, I've played the same game on both entries but I feel like I've had a 10-point to 2-touchdown favorite running for me every week. And yeah, we'll see what that is. I'll listen over to Odds Honest Truth and see if they have any ideas for me over there. I've been enjoying their picks, and they've been doing very well over there. If you're interested in the sports betting side of things at all, I highly recommend checking out Odds Honest Truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are sharp, and they do college football and NFL, and I think they're going to start diversifying as well as they bring others in, like Stu Cast, Alan Studer to do his football analysis here. I love his jokes. He's a great guy. So those guys are fantastic.
Stu is fun. We got to get him back on these airwaves soon. Twist his arm and make that magic happen. All right, Drew, we're going to let you go, and we will be talking soon.
All right, thank you.
That's going to do it for today's edition of the show. A lot of people to thank. We'll go in reverse order. Why not? Drew Coatney, John Cox, Jill Gentili, Naomi Tukker, and Jack Jenkins. Who else should we thank? We'll thank producer AJ, who's been doing an incredible job as producer Craig is buried under a whole lot of marathon stuff. And thus, AJ's been more than ably pinch hitting this week. I've gotten to talk to him every day. It's been a lot of fun. We really appreciate him and his efforts. Our founding partners, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Claps to them, by the way, on a very successful horse show the other night. You can still check out that archive over on their YouTube channel. I'll send out a link to it as well. Definitely worth checking out for Absolute Sure, that horse show. And then 10 Strike Racing with their winner at Keeneland this week. Around here, we always like to root for the purple and black. Most of all, though, want to thank you, the listeners, the viewers, for making these shows so much fun to do. If you want more of our content in the Money Media, sign up at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts for that master feed. Like us, rate us, subscribe to us, tell your friends about us, leave a nice comment, all those things. They're going to help other people find the show. And you can do the exact same routine over at YouTube, where we've got a lot of extra content on the YouTube channel, and just going to be having more as things continue to progress in this march along to the Breeders' Cup. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornital. May you win all your photos.
Just me.